Hello, this is Sarah Braasch. Welcome back to my channel. So I just wanted to do a quick impromptu video, and I wanted to let everyone know that I'm going to try to get as many of them as I can, but I'm going to be posting some, and hopefully most, and maybe even all, of the character letters that were written on my behalf that were included as an exhibit in the response to Yale's grossly defamatory and false charges of racial harassment that were levied against me by Yale Graduate School Dean Lynn Cooley. And some of these letters are actually quite important because they confirm and establish certain claims and certain facts that I'm asserting. And then also they're just really important because, especially the ones from Yale faculty, because they are affirming that I have never engaged in racist behavior, never would, that I've only ever engaged in anti-racism activism. And they also are important because several of the letters establish the events of spring 2015, when I was socially ousted from the philosophy department by most of the other graduate students because I stood up for the federal civil rights, the religious expression rights of an evangelical Black man, and he was the only person of color job candidate for an assistant professor tenure track position in the Yale philosophy department. So that's very important because obviously that's not what a racist would do. And even at the time, I considered myself an anti-religion advocate. I no longer consider myself an anti-religion advocate. I actually have returned to religion. I've returned to Christianity, and I've actually thinking about becoming a Roman Catholic. I've been attending a Roman Catholic church, been attending Mass, and it's given me a lot of peace and solace and succor. And I really feel comfortable there, and so I'm seriously considering it. But at the time, in spring 2015, I considered myself an anti-religion advocate, and a very strident one at that. But I also still and have always considered myself as a deeply committed civil libertarian. And that's a principle that I'm just very uncompromising about. And so I stood up for that person's religious expression rights, their federal civil rights, and I was socially ousted. I risked my career to do so. I was socially ousted from the philosophy department by the graduate students, and it was a very difficult and painful time for me, and I actually had to go and seek treatment at the mental health clinic at the student health center, and I did so for the next 2 or 3 years because I was so distraught over having been socially ousted from the philosophy department. If I entered a room, the other graduate students would get up and leave. They wouldn't speak to me. They wouldn't look at me except to glare at me, and it was very difficult for me. And you would think that I would be used to being a social pariah, but I actually took it very hard because I really felt like I had reached the finish line and my troubles were behind me when I got into Yale. I was so excited and so happy, and then right away, right off the bat, I became an outcast again. And I was ostracized because I stood up for my principles and I stood up for what's right. But in a lot of the letters that the Yale faculty wrote for me made me cry because a lot of them said things like, I hope that we could all find that kind of moral courage that Sarah displayed. She risked her career. She, at great personal cost, to stand up for the federal civil rights of our only person of color job candidate, his religious expression rights. Okay, so I am going to be reading the character letters and making a bunch of videos. I have 2 letters that I've already posted. I've made blog posts of those 2 letters, and they include links to the PDFs of the letters. And of course, I got permission to post those letters. I wouldn't post anything for which I did not have permission. And yeah, so that's what's going to happen. And so the next video will be, the next 2 videos that I'm going to do those tonight are going to be the letters from Yale's Sterling Law professor, Alan Schwartz, and Yale professor of philosophy and linguistics, Zoltan Szabo, who has also been the director of graduate studies, I think, pretty much the entire time I've been at Yale for the philosophy department. And both of their letters are absolutely wonderful, and they both made me cry when I received them. And so I'll be reading both of those letters. I'll start with Professor Alan Schwartz's character letter, and then I will move on to Professor Zoltan Szabo's character letter. And Yale Sterling Law professor Alan Schwartz is someone with whom I've worked almost the whole time I've been at Yale. And what I've done for him is that I created an agent-based computational model and simulations of a corporate control market. And that's what I've done for him, and we worked on that project for several years. And and so I'll start with his letter. So we became very, very good friends during that time, and I consider him a very close and dear friend. And he wrote a very beautiful letter on my behalf, and I'll start with that letter. Okay, I love you all so much. I'll have a bunch of links below, including my PayPal me and GoFundMe links. Please support me as I continue to fight for justice. This is not just about my life and career, saving my life. It's about everyone who has been falsely accused and cyber mobbed and defamed. It is about restoring civil liberties at Yale and on college campuses across the U.S. and everywhere, including due process and free speech. It's about not letting the moral outrage industry get one more innocent person killed, drive one more innocent person to suicide. We are living in a moment of cultural insanity, but we are going to get through this together. We can do this. We can get through this together. Please support me in my efforts to sue Yale and the entire moral outrage industry. Okay, thank you so much. I love you all so much. I'll talk to you later.